Welcome to English Bookshelf, where every book becomes a mirror and every story helps you rediscover yourself. Imagine receiving a package at your doorstep. Inside the box, there are 13 cassette tapes. Each tape is recorded in the same voice. A voice you recognize. A voice you wish you could hear again. But the person speaking on those tapes is no longer alive. And as you press play, you hear the words, "Hello, this is Hannah Baker, live and in stereo." In that moment, your world changes forever. This is the haunting beginning of 13 Reasons Why, a story that forces us to confront something we often ignore: the impact of our words, our actions, and our silence on the people around us. The story follows Clay Jensen, a quiet and kind high school student who one day receives a mysterious box containing these tapes recorded by his classmate, Hannah Baker. Hannah is no longer alive, but through these tapes, she tells her story, one reason at a time, explaining the moments, the people, and the choices that slowly pushed her into a place of deep pain and isolation. Each person mentioned on the tapes is given instructions. Listen to the tapes, pass them on to the next person, and if you don't, the story will be made public. As Clay begins to listen, he is confused, shocked, and afraid. Why is his name on these tapes? What could he possibly have done? How is he connected to Hannah's story? With every tape, he's pulled deeper into Hannah's world, a world of rumors, misunderstandings, loneliness, betrayal, and silent suffering. The book shows us how something that may seem small to one person can feel enormous to someone else. A rumor that spreads, a joke that goes too far, a moment when someone needed help, and no one noticed. Individually, these moments may seem minor, but together, they create a weight that becomes too heavy to carry alone. As Clay listens, he begins to see Hannah not just as a classmate, but as a human being who was hurting, hoping, and waiting for someone to understand her. And the most painful realization is this: there were moments when things could have been different. Moments where a kind word, a small act of support, or simply listening could have changed everything. The story is not just about Hannah. It is about everyone around her. It is about how our actions, even the ones we don't think about, can deeply affect someone else's life. It is about how easy it is to overlook someone who is silently struggling. And it is about the responsibility we all share as human beings to treat each other with kindness, respect, and care. As your audience listens to this story, they begin to feel a shift. They begin to think about the people in their own lives, the people they talk to every day, the people they may have ignored, the people who may be smiling on the outside, but hurting on the inside. And they begin to understand that this story is not just fiction. It is a reflection of real life. This is where the journey begins. A journey of awareness, empathy, and understanding the power of our actions. As Clay continues listening to the tapes, the story becomes heavier, deeper, and more emotional. With each new voice recording, Hannah slowly reveals how her life changed, one incident at a time. At the beginning, it starts with something that seems small, a rumor, a simple misunderstanding that spreads through school. Something that people laugh about, gossip about, and quickly move on from. But for Hannah, that rumor becomes the first crack in her sense of safety and trust. Suddenly, people look at her differently. They talk about her behind her back. They treat her as if they already know who she is, without ever asking her. And that is where the pain begins. Because sometimes, the most painful thing is not what someone says to your face. It is what they say about you when you are not there. As the tapes continue, Clay hears about moments where Hannah reached out for connection, friendship, and understanding. There were times she trusted someone. Times she believed someone would stand up for her. Times she hoped someone would simply listen. But again and again, those moments turned into disappointment. People ignored her pain. People used her trust. People chose silence when they could have spoken up. And slowly, with each experience, Hannah begins to feel more alone, more invisible, more disconnected from the world around her. Clay begins to realize something very important. None of these moments, by themselves, seemed big enough to destroy someone. But together, they created a chain. A chain of hurt, rejection, misunderstanding, and silence. And that chain slowly pulled Hannah deeper into a place of darkness. As Clay listens, he also begins to reflect on his own actions. There were moments when he could have spoken up. Moments when he could have shown kindness. Moments when he could have done something, but didn't. And now, he has to face that reality. The book shows us something uncomfortable but important. Sometimes, we are not the main cause of someone's pain, but we are still part of the story. Even silence can have consequences. As the story moves forward, Hannah talks about how she began to lose hope. Not because of one big event, but because of many small moments where she felt unseen, unheard, and unsupported. And this is where the emotional core of the book becomes clear. The story is not about blaming people. It is about understanding how our actions affect others. It is about recognizing that everyone around us is fighting their own battles, even if we cannot see them. Clay's journey through the tapes becomes a journey of awareness. He starts to see his classmates differently. He starts to notice how people treat each other. He starts to understand the weight of small actions. And slowly, he begins to change. He becomes more aware, more compassionate, more present. Because now he understands something he didn't understand before. Every word matters. Every action matters. Every moment of kindness or cruelty matters. As your audience listens to this part, they begin to reflect on their own lives. They think about the times they may have judged someone too quickly, the times they may have stayed silent, the times they may have not noticed someone who needed support. And a quiet realization begins to grow. That being kind is not just a good thing to do. It can be life-changing for someone else. This is where the story prepares us for its final message, a message about responsibility, empathy, and the power we all have to make someone's life a little better or a little worse with the choices we make every day. As Clay reaches the later tapes, the weight of the story becomes almost unbearable. The voice on the recordings is still calm, still steady. But now, there is a quiet sadness beneath it, a feeling of exhaustion. Hannah begins to describe how, little by little, she stopped believing that things could get better. She had tried to reach out. She had tried to trust people. She had tried to find someone who would understand. But each time, she felt pushed a little further away. There were moments where help could have been offered. Moments where someone could have seen her pain. Moments where someone could have simply said, "I'm here for you." But those moments passed. And with each missed chance, the distance between Hannah and the world around her grew wider. Clay begins to understand something deeply painful. That Hannah was not just telling a story about the past. She was showing how loneliness can grow silently, even when you are surrounded by people. He realizes that a person can laugh, talk, go to school, and still feel completely alone inside. And that realization changes him. Because now, he begins to see people differently. He notices the quiet students. He notices the ones who sit alone. He notices the ones who seem okay on the outside, but may not be okay inside. The book gently pushes us to ask ourselves a difficult question. How often do we truly see the people around us? Not just their faces, but their feelings. Not just their words, but their struggles. Hannah's story becomes a reminder that pain is not always visible. Some of the deepest struggles are hidden behind a smile. As the tapes continue, Clay also begins to understand his own role in Hannah's life. He remembers moments they shared, moments that could have been different, moments where he wishes he had acted with more courage. And this is one of the most powerful lessons of the book. Regret often comes from the things we didn't do, the words we didn't say, the support we didn't give, the kindness we didn't show. Clay cannot change the past, but he can learn from it. And that is exactly what the story invites every listener to do. To learn, to become more aware, to become more compassionate. Because even though we cannot go back and change yesterday, we can choose how we act today. We can choose to listen more carefully, to speak more kindly, to support someone who might need it. As your audience listens to this part, they begin to feel something deeper than just sadness. They begin to feel responsibility. Not in a heavy, guilty way, but in a meaningful way. The responsibility to be more aware of the people around them. The responsibility to be kinder in their words. The responsibility to not ignore someone who may be struggling. And slowly, the story shifts from being just about Hannah to being about all of us. Our choices, our behavior, our impact on others. Because every day, in small ways, we are part of other people's stories. And the way we act can either make someone's life a little brighter or a little heavier. This is where the story prepares us for its final message. A message that is not just about loss, but about awareness, change, and the power of kindness. As the final tape ends, silence fills the room. Clay sits there, headphones in his hands, unable to move. The story is over, but its impact has just begun. Everything he has heard has changed him. He no longer sees his school, his classmates, or even himself in the same way. He understands now that behind every face is a story he may never fully know. Behind every smile, there may be pain. Behind every silence, there may be a cry for help. Hannah's voice is no longer just a memory on a tape. It becomes a message that reaches beyond Clay and reaches all of us. A message that reminds us how powerful our actions can be. The way we speak to people, the way we treat them, the way we choose to listen or ignore, all of it matters. Because sometimes the smallest actions can have the biggest impact on someone's life. A kind word can give someone hope. A moment of listening can make someone feel seen. A simple act of support can change someone's entire day, or even their entire life. As Clay walks out into the world after listening to the tapes, he makes a quiet decision. He will be different. He will pay attention. He will speak up. He will be kinder. He will not ignore someone who might need help. And that decision is the most important part of the story. Because 13 Reasons Why is not just about what happened to Hannah. It is about what we choose to do now. It is about how we treat the people in our lives today. It is about how we notice those who may be struggling even when they don't say it out loud. It is about choosing empathy over judgment, kindness over silence, and understanding over assumption. As your audience listens to this final part, they begin to feel a quiet but powerful shift. They begin to think about the people around them. Friends, classmates, family members, colleagues. They begin to wonder, is there someone who needs a little more kindness? Is there someone who needs someone to listen? Is there someone who feels alone, even when surrounded by others? And in that moment, the story becomes more than just a book. It becomes a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference in someone's life. Not with big actions, but with small, everyday choices. And as the video comes to an end, one message stays with your audience. You never truly know what someone else is going through. So be kind, be patient, be understanding, because sometimes your kindness could be exactly what someone needs to keep going. If this video inspired you, subscribe to English Bookshelf for more stories, more learning, and more inspiration. Until the next book, keep reading, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself.